Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Coriolis, the Great Dark, the new edition of the sci-fi RPG from Free League Publishing. Okay then, Coriolis, the Great Dark. These are the new core rules for Free League's new edition of the game. And it's an interesting edition insofar as it's not just a re-release of Coriolis with some tweaks or stuff like that. This moves the storyline massively forward, hundreds if not thousands of years. As you can see here, the star portals are dead, Ship City is dying, but there's still hope. So this sets you up as explorers within the universe in a similar way to 19th century expeditions. So if you've seen things like the Terror, that's the sort of concept behind this. So far away from anybody else that you're all alone and trying to keep things running as smoothly as possible. The book contains rules for creating your crew of explorers, upgrades, rules for traveling on great ships, an introductory adventure as well, and tips and rules for solo play. So we start off with this Lost Horizon sort of galaxy map, essentially where you have been and where you're going to. The book itself is 300 plus pages long and well laid out within that. So the introduction section itself gives you a brief explanation about the game, the themes as well, and how to play the various factions within it. Then you go into the explorer, the crew, the various professions, core mechanics, combat. Everybody loves combat. The bird and its powers, equipment, the Lost Horizon itself, the diaspora, the fragments of the past. Then we have guilds and factions, Ship City, which is not just your location, but practically a character in itself. And then some of the other concepts, alien races, creatures and adversaries, space travel, how you go out playing in and around it, and then finishes off with the Ziggurat and your sort of introductory scenario or campaign for your group. Like I said, it pushes the narrative on massively from the previous version of Coriolis. And the idea is that the gateways that allowed civilization to move between galaxies, solar systems, what have you, have all shut down. Nobody knows why. And people are on these massive generational ship cities, floating through space and trying to keep them running, which is kind of part and parcel as to what you are doing in it. You can't rely on everything lasting forever. So you have to keep things running, go looking for fuel, for water, for food, and then deal with the internecine factions, fights for power and prestige within the ship cities themselves. The core mechanics uses the D6 system of Mutant Year Zero, but with tweaks on it. So your sixes are successes and your dice pool will push that, but there's also gear dice, which I think were possibly introduced in Blade Runner for the first time. And you can also have critical failures, I suppose you would call them, by rolls of 1 within it. As you would expect, the book itself is absolutely lavish with beautiful artwork throughout. And each time they design a book or a layout for a book, they don't just replicate. They lean into the background and the genre itself. So you get these fantastic looking pieces of artwork. And I really like the black and gold That seems to be the underlying theme when you're putting together your book. It has a really striking look to it. So here we have your explorer's generation. So starting attributes, quirks, which are always good to have, little sort of behavioral tweaks, what you might have. So things like overly polite, very superstitious, fond of jewellery, whatever it happens to be. I had a friend whose quirk in a game was lightning fast reflexes, never gets caught unawares. And he used that to often hesitate before combat and not go first anyway. So, you know, it is what it is. Your crew for your own little mini ship that gets sent away from Ship City to go and find stuff and bring it back. It's all in there, including naming conventions. So you two could have the Night Weaver, the Iron Wolf, and then a coat of Midnight Black, as is its wont. Pushing on past your character creation, you can see each character gets a double-page spread where you get a breakdown of the archetype, some example names and starting equipment, and then a bit about possible backstory. What type of scholar are they? What type of scoundrel are they? Are they a con artist? Or are they a spy working for one of the guilds? Do you tell the other characters, you know, maybe they think you're just some sort of rogue-like Han Solo smuggler, but in actual fact you've got much deeper ties to somebody else, more nefarious. Core mechanics and your combat sections, hazard sections are next. Fairly straightforward if you're planning on running the game, because it is that D6 based mechanic. You can push rolls if you don't happen to get them, and it gives you a good idea of how damage is going to be applied. Shifts, stretches and rounds will be familiar from some of the other games, things like Dragonbane. They equate to, you know, I think it's 5 seconds, 15 minutes, 8 hours, something like that. Don't hold me to that. I will tell you in the book though. But yeah, after that, the bird and its powers is your, I suppose, a type of psychic or familiar that can give you benefits when you're using those abilities in space. And then after that we have your equipment and the like. So a very comprehensive book from Free League once again. And like I say, throughout the entire book, absolutely gorgeous artwork that really inspires and gives the feel of a civilization that is not dying, but waning, shall we say. If you've played previous versions of Coriolis and you're worried about the fact that you are now so far out of your time zone and are wondering about what's happening with your original characters or your sort of third age characters, there are ways to bring them in. Essentially being resurrected or thawed out from some form of long-term stasis, which will then introduce them to a world they're completely unfamiliar with. And likewise, other characters who meet them will be looking at them as some sort of myth or legend. And at the same time, there are Easter eggs and plot threads throughout this book that tie back to the previous edition, which means if you are a returning player or returning GM, you've got an interesting way of pushing things on. Factions have changed, some have shifted or disappeared completely, and now you're dealing with a whole other way to explore the galaxy within these great ships as they sort of careen through the void looking for humanity or somewhere else that they can call home. So yeah, a gorgeous book, interesting survival horror in space in a different way. It's not aliens. You're not dealing with a massive monster, although you could be. You're dealing with the environment and having to cope with how everybody else on board the ship is also planning on making their journey through life much more viable, and factions within it who might decide that they don't want to live in a city ship anymore. Why can you not just land on a planet and stay there? So there's a lot of meat to be played with as you explore the galaxy. And then there's within this the dungeon crawler-esque adventure, which I won't look at. But yeah, overall, gorgeous book. The black and gold is very, very lavish, lush. I'm not sure what way you would put it, but I'm a fan of the theme that they've gone for here. And if you are unaware of Coriolis, it's definitely worth checking out. And this new edition is a very different beast to the previous ones as well. So there you go. If you're already a player of Coriolis, this pushes the story on. It changes things up quite a bit. There are still little Easter eggs throughout the narrative, which will be further explored over time, but it's meant to give a very different feel. If you've not played the previous editions of Coriolis and are jumping in here, it's a fascinating look at sci-fi in a 19th century exploration kind of way, looking for the Northwest Passage, things like that, except in a sci-fi, the vast emptiness of space and not knowing what's out there and trying to keep the people on Ship City alive. So yeah, fantastic, intricate storyline, and once again, a superb book from Free League Publishing. Absolutely gorgeous throughout the entire run of books that they've done so far. The artwork in here is stunning and really gives an idea of the vastness of space and the sort of decay that's setting in for your players. But let me know what you think below, folks. Until next time, bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.